reason I think I get invited to speak places and to speak publicly about stuff is because, as opposed to being like kind of like the normal Republican that's going to show up and just try to tell you that everything is perfectly fine and really, quite frankly, gaslight you, I'm here to tell you that we're really in a crisis right now. And that one of the things we have to do is not just win the House back. Yes, we got to win the House back. We got to get rid of Biden. But we really need to hold our own party accountable.
Yep.
That's one of the things we have to do. I think the biggest issue facing the country right now, because it's really sort of a blocking point, is the deficit of courage within the Republican Party. I think that's the biggest issue in the country right now. And I mean this at the federal and state level. We do have the single greatest governor in the country right now. And I wish more Republicans were like him, but the problem is we got all these other Republicans that are so squishy and moderate, you know? And so it's funny, I decided when I was in my mid-20s I wanted to do something in politics, so I ran for city commission, and then after that this state house, I served as a city commissioner and state house member, and all I've done basically is everything you see in your mailbox when you get the little glossy flyers and the TV ads, and all these Republicans said they're gonna do all these things, and they're in my little trifold here. I guess I did something rare and unique. I actually did all the things that I said I was going to do when I got in office. And I mean, this might surprise you. This might not surprise you, but it made me hated by the Republican Party. It really did. It's crazy. Saying that you're conservative is totally fine. But when you act upon that conservatism, what you do is you end up exposing all these other Republicans who just use the rhetoric to get fundraising dollars out of you, get your votes, get your confidence, get invited to the cocktail parties, etc., but don't actually want to do anything because they don't want to be attacked by the left. So I filed a lot of bills. I've had 5 of my bills signed into law by Governor DeSantis. But I will tell you, and there's some of those bills are quite good, but a lot of the best bills I'm filing and I'm pushing for are dying. They're dying in a state that has a Republican House, a Republican Senate, a Republican governor, a Republican Supreme Court, and just a Republican voting base. How is it happening? It's because we have more rhinos in the party than the San Diego Zoo has rhinos. Wow. We got an enormous amount of rhinos. Let me tell you about some of the bills I filed. So 2 days ago, I filed a bill that I think should be filed in all 50 states. It's a bill to do an audit of the 2020 general election.
Yes!
I have no idea why this would be considered controversial. Think about it for a second. If you're a member of the left, I doubt anybody in here is, but if you're a member of the left, wouldn't you want the audit? Because in their minds, there was no fraud. So you do the audit, and then there's no fraud, and they get to say, ha ha, right? Now, of course, if you're a sane person, like us, you know that there was at least some fraud in the election.
Right.
Even right here in Florida, right? Why? Because there's 3 counties down south, Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade, that even on their best day, even if they tried not to commit fraud, there's going to be massive fraud in those counties. It's just the way it is. So this is the real reason why the left is fighting us on this. And it doesn't surprise me, right? They're always thinking ahead. For them, it's all about what do we do to try to beat the right. The problem is, why are the Republicans against this? So my own party right now, a lot of the state house members and state senators, the governor's very open-minded, by the way, but the actual legislators, including some right here in Volusia County, have been totally against it. And I'll tell you exactly why. A lot of people would say, oh, it must be because they think the election was perfect. The truth of the matter is, these people have no idea how elections work. They don't know anything. They don't know how the systems work, anything. What's dictating their response is that they just want to avoid the conflict with the media and with the left. And this is my definition of a rhino. It was in my introduction. People always associate me with the word rhino. I use the word rhino all the time. And Republicans in good faith will say, Sabatini, are you just calling people rhinos because they disagree with you? And I'll say, absolutely not. Absolutely not. There is a gigantic room for disagreement within the Republican Party.
That's right.
Right? There's a lot of type of views. But for me, a rhino is somebody who lacks the courage to do the right thing because they don't want to suffer the consequences of doing the right thing. They don't want to have to deal with the pressure. That's it, right? That's a rhino. And on the audit, you got Republicans. We know there is fraud. We know that all 50 states should have it. And by the way, we also know it's just a good idea to make it a a new normal, a new transparency measure that at the end of every general election, for verification method, for the sake of verification and transparency, you would always do an audit. I mean, it's sad that we're living in a country, by the way, today, that you know that there's people in this country who are trying to steal the election. They're trying to literally manipulate the results. But the truth of the matter is, we live in that country, those people are here, so why not just do the audit to make sure at the end of every single one? It should be the new normal. But these rhinos are fighting us on. Let me tell you about some of the other bills that I'm filing right now and I'm hoping to get through. Session starts in a couple months, but these are all being filed right now. I'm pushing them right now, and you have the chance to go out and speak to these legislators and tell them, hey, listen, you need to co-sponsor this bill. No excuses. You need to co-sponsor this bill, and if you don't like it, file commensurable legislation. It looks like it, but it's different in the way you want it to be. Another one of the most important bills is constitutional carry. Everybody know what constitutional carry is? Constitutional carry is a very simple bill, right? We're talking about the Bill of Rights here. How absurd would it be if Volusia County or the state of Florida or some government entity said, oh, you have a First Amendment right, but make sure you go down to the county hall in DeLand and pay a $25 permit and tell us where and when you're going to be speaking your mind and exercising those freedom of speech and religious liberty. Just let us know ahead of time and pay us. It'd be insane. It'd be completely unconstitutional. The problem is we're trapped in this mindset in the Republican Party about the Second Amendment. That actually already exists for an equally fundamental right, the Second Amendment, and we happen to pretend that somehow that's okay. Right now, if you're a law-abiding citizen like everybody in this room, and you want to go out and purchase a firearm, right, with a girl with a gun and all these other great groups, and you want to defend yourself, you have to go pay the government money and prove to them, even if you're not a criminal or anything, that you have to go kiss Nikki Fried's ring and hope that the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services grants you permission to defend yourself. That's the law right now in Florida. It makes absolutely no sense. But why? Back to my original principle. Because rhinos don't want to have to fight a tough battle with the left and the media on the importance of the Second Amendment. So they'd rather just sit idly by and send you a mailer that says, oh, I got the high-ranking score from the NRA, blah, 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 but actually do nothing on the Second Amendment. So we have filed constitutional carry 3 years now. This is the third year it's filed. House Bill 75, look it up. In the election audit, it's House Bill 99. It's on the books right now, and we need Republicans to push this bill. There's no excuse. 21 states have passed it. Texas has just passed it. Georgia, all these different states have gotten constitutional carry through. Florida refuses to do it because rhinos in the legislature are standing in the way. And I'm telling you right now, if you want to take this country back, we got to take this country back. Yes. But you will never take this country back until you take the Republican Party back. And that means systematically eliminating each and every one of these rhinos from political office. Every single one. I'm telling you right now, do not even think one moment about November until you've thought about August, until you've thought about the primary election. Who do you want to go to war with? We're talking, imagine you're going to World War II. Why would you spend your whole day thinking about the Nazis? Wouldn't you spend more time trying to raise the right troops, train the right troops, be selective in what troops you choose to go to battle with? That's the point of the primary, right? If you show up in November and you got a bunch of Mitt Romney rhinos like you do and some of the folks in the state legislature here, you're going to lose. It doesn't matter. Look at what happened from 2016 to 2018. We had one of the top 5 presidents in the history of the United States. Donald Trump was elected.
Yes.
But in the Congress, because people didn't realize, it was full of the swamp. It was full of rhinos who were working against Donald Trump on each and every single issue. So the mandate that we handed Donald Trump, build the wall, fix trade, fix the endless wars, do all these different things. None of it got done because the Republican Party was more obsessed with stopping and criticizing Donald Trump than anything else. The only bill that passed in those 2 years, the tax cut. And I love the tax cut. Tax cut's great. But let's be honest, that was a tenth of what we sent, the mandate we gave the president. But the Republicans stood in the way. And they're still standing in the way. Let me tell you about some of the other bills that we got going on. And this, by the way, this is the single most important issue right now. People don't understand this issue because they're looking at it in the immediate, and there is no emergency in the mind of the Democrats. Everything is used as a way of expanding power and creating new precedents. But it's this vaccine and mask issue that's going on right now before our very eyes, okay? So I lied. Constitutional carry, I believe, is 103. 75 is the bill I'm about to bring up. House Bill 75, I just filed it this week. It's a very simple bill. It's a bill that says, you know, if you want to wear a mask, you want to be vaccinated, that's completely and totally fine. But nobody can coerce you into doing it. It's not the role of government. It's not the role of power.
Thank you.
Very simple bill. It's a very simple bill. And as you can tell from this room, the voting Republicans are completely unanimously in favor of this bill, right? You guys are all in favor. Everybody, even if you were wearing a mask and wanted to go get your 4th booster shot or whatever, like every day, you never really believe that it's the role of the government or a woke corporation to punish you and trample on your rights. It should always remain your own personal decision.
Thank you.
Right? Because you dehumanize people when you force them to do things, when you take away their autonomy and their ability to be a self-governing citizen. You destroy the whole system of American governance when you centralize power and don't let people make decisions, but simply react to the decisions that the government made. The whole thing is so sick and perverse. I hate even having to say it out loud because it blows my mind that these Republicans in office could possibly disagree with it. So I filed this bill, and let me tell you, we are out of time on this issue. The rhinos in Tallahassee are going to tell you, oh, well, we got session in January, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've been demanding for months now an emergency special session right now to do a complete and total ban on mask and vaccine mandates in the state of Florida. These rhinos in the legislature will sit here and talk and talk and talk. They do nothing. And then Governor DeSantis has to do backflips to try to figure out a way to handle these issues. He's doing these executive orders, which are legal, but it's so much more difficult to legislate through these executive orders because we got this lazy-ass rhino legislature that doesn't want to do its job by protecting the rights of Floridians. Now, here's the other issue that's really important. So the governor at the conference this week, he said, I'm going to start fighting the local governments that are doing the mask mandates. But that only pertains to local governments, right? So I do believe that firefighters and cops and all of them should not be fired for not wanting to submit to an employee vaccine mandate. But what about the rest of us in the private sector, right? What about the people in my district in Western Orlando? I'm in Lake County, where about a 1/4 of my folks work at Disney, who are being told, hey, go get vaccinated and prove it to us. By the way, a violation of your medical freedom and your medical privacy. And if you don't do it, you're going to be fired on the spot. And by the way, if that's why you got fired, because you didn't want to submit and give your medical freedom away, you're ineligible for unemployment. This is how sick this issue is. And these Republicans won't do it. Now, let me tell you what the Republicans are doing right now. It's amazing. So I filed this bill. I've been beating the drum on this for months. The rhino Speaker of the House and these Republicans are saying, oh, no, we'll handle that later, knowing that their corporate masters are basically telling them, don't do anything in the meantime. But let me tell you what they did in the meantime. So they said, oh, well, you know, special session, emergency legislation, that's like an extreme thing. We wouldn't do that unless we had to, which, by the way, it is an extreme thing. We need to do it right now. In the meantime, between session ending back in March and today, they called an emergency special session. But to do what? To grow government by massively expanding immoral gambling in the state of Florida. I voted against it. But they literally called everybody back to boring Tallahassee in the middle of the hot summer to massively expand gambling, which should have never occurred. I was one of the few people who voted against it. Just for that, because they wanted to grow government, they wanted more money. But they won't call a special session to ban these insane vaccine and mask mandates. So what's the theme here? Actually, I want to say one more thing about it. We need to, the people have already crossed the Rubicon on this issue. They already think clearly on this issue. But these coward Republican elected officials don't get it. They're still looking at corporations, these woke, insane corporations, and saying, you know, because they have this playbook in their head from back in the day, oh, that's a private corporation. That's a private corporation, so they can do whatever they want. Because I was told in something I read 40 years ago that if it's a private corporation, they should be allowed to bully everybody, etc. So here are the things that they think the government should play no role in, that private corporations should be able to do. Private corporations should be able to ban you from social media so you can't engage in the public square. That's what some of these rhinos in Tallahassee think. Private corporations should have mandatory CRT training in the employment context. So if you want to go even work at like a Walmart, you're going to have to go submit to the fact that you're a bad person because you're white, etc., whatever. They also believe that you should submit to vaccine and mask mandates and testing every day, etc., etc., etc. But those are private corporations. So this is the problem with the rhinos in our party. They can't understand that the threats to liberty are no longer just a government entity. It's not just Volusia County or the state of Florida or whatever that's intruding on your rights and violating rights. It's woke capital. It's woke corporations, right? And they can't balance the rights. They can't say, in their mind, because they're just not thinking about this, they don't understand that the rights of people are being violated all the time. It shouldn't matter what the source of the violation comes from. If a woke corporation wants to make you do a vaccine, cancel your free speech, and teach you CRT, we need to ban that in the state of Florida. If the government can't do that, what's the point of the government? If the government...
That's right.
The founding fathers created a government to secure the rights of the people, right? At the time, the most ominous threat to the people was the government. The truth is, it has an equal threat now. Woke, globalist corporations that are more powerful than the government. More powerful than the government. They affect you in a more direct manner. And they're supposedly not restrained by the Bill of Rights. So they can actually be more invasive and control more of your life than anything. We need these Republicans to wake up and pass this bill. It's insane to think that hasn't happened yet. In the supposedly free state of Florida, constitutional carry, anti-vaccine mandates. These are common sense items. Let me tell you about a couple of the other bills I filed. We happen to have one of the greatest presidents in the history of the country, just finished his term. He's a Floridian. Don't you think we should honor this great Floridian president? Right? Yeah. Don't you think we should name something after this great president?
Yes.
So I filed a bill this year to name Highway 27 Florida's longest road. It goes from the docks of Miami to a town called Havana, actually, north of Tallahassee. Ironically, it's like Havana to Miami. After Donald J. Trump, the presidential Donald J. Trump highway. The problem is, these rhinos don't want to have to do anything that's even mildly controversial. So they have killed the bill in committee. They wouldn't even let the bill be heard, right? A lot of people don't know this, but the old guard Republicans, right, your Jeb Bush types, America Last types, still have commanding influence in our state and in D.C. And they will work against Donald Trump and the America First movement that he started every single day. So once again, what do you do when these rhinos attack? I filed the bill again. So once again, we'll have an opportunity to pass the Donald J. Trump highway. How is it even debated, by the way? Even if you're a member of the left, don't you think that the president of the United States, who happens to live in the state, should have a road named after him?
Why not? Why not?
Common sense. So those are just a few of the bills that I filed that I think are really important. I definitely encourage you guys to check them out. This is going to be my last year in Tallahassee because I'm running for District 7, which is mostly Seminole County, but very likely going to be Volusia County too. And I'd love to try to earn your vote for Congress, but I'm not interested in talking about that right now. I'm more interested in trying to get you guys involved with this fight that we have on our hands right here in the state of Florida. Right?
Yeah, how can we get
The biggest rhino of all,
We won the list.
is the Speaker of the House. Now, I blow people's minds when I tell them this. They almost think that it's like some personal issue or like, why would you say... I'm telling you, it's the Speaker of the House. He is the single reason why these bills do not move. It's not the rank and file membership. Now, a lot of the rank and file membership lacks the courage to stand up and do the right thing on a lot of legislation. But the Speaker of the House is the only person who has the power to either move or kill a bill in the legislature. So the reason why these school boards have gone crazy and done all this stuff is he refused to pass a bill that would have required them to be either removed from office or fined personally, and defunding the school boards, etc. When they did the school mask mandates, he was the reason why the legislature never did anything, and then DeSantis had to basically do crazy maneuvers to try to end it, because the legislature did not want to back them up when they're working against them. And it's disturbing, but that's just where we're at. So what we need is people to get involved in these primaries, and they need to find the real conservatives who have a backbone, who have a demonstrated record, who have courage, who are willing to fight to get this legislation passed. And that's just a few of the things. You look me up on the state website, you'll see dozens